holistic healthcare, homeopathy, naturopathy, acupuncture, hypnotherapy, and other alternative forms of healthcare for overall vitality and well-being. From the Renaissance Health Center in Las Vegas, it's the Healing the Whole Body podcast.
Hello, everyone. Today we've got Renee Halderman. She is our acupuncturist and Chinese medicine specialist at the office at Renaissance Health Center. And today we're going to talk about seasonal transition since we are going into spring. We just literally had the spring equinox. And we're going to talk about how acupuncture and Chinese medicine helps us through these transitions. So first of all, Renee, this is what she would like to talk about at this podcast too, particularly. And why is that? What is really important to know about this particular subject?
Well, I think that we oftentimes will neglect the natural, the change in the atmosphere, and we don't see how that coordinates with our internal environment. And many times we all have that shift. I know women in history have given birth on full moons. You go to the hospital even today. Before we had electricity, many women would be influenced by the seasons and cycles. You could go to the hospital today and see just the labor and delivery room is inundated with deliveries on a full moon. So this is nothing new to our nature, but it is a concept that we neglect in modern society. And it's unfortunate because I feel like the more we understand about what our body is going through, the more we can preserve our own health and our relationships. Mm-hmm. Because I think many times when we struggle, we respond. We have symptoms, there's pathology, our moods we're trying to keep them stable. And with this knowledge and information, we truly can have a whole functioning, healthy body, mind, spirit, the whole works. And it is very well worth it to understand and consider the fact that when the external environment is changing, we certainly can have a shift internally.
Okay, that's so interesting. So what are some things that we need to be doing for our overall health and vitality when it comes to the seasonal change?
Well, most important is nothing changes over generations and seasons and years. From when you were an infant to when you're an old person about to go all the way of the earth, eating, sleeping, bowels, those are so key. If we're doing those things well, then a lot of times we can weather the changes of the seasons well. One thing that I find very important to note here in today's podcast is there's a phenomenon in nature that brings us to the logic that there is an internal shift. The Amazon River, it has a shift energetically. They actually have a name for it. Many people come from all around the world to surf the Amazon River during this phenomenon. When the sun, the moon, and the earth align in a certain way, it'll cause the energy of the river to flow against its current. And so again, it's called the porok, or the big whoop, or the large surge, or something. There's several different names for it, but the sound of it and the way that it flows against its current, it being the largest river, it really is logical for us to know that since our bodies are whatever great percentage, I think it's 70+% water, why would there not be a shift in our internal environment as well? So that is something that we can apply personally, in that it happens during the spring equinox and the fall equinox. So there are those huge shifts in moisture externally, and that definitely we can apply that to our internal environment as well.
Mm-hmm. I just recently have been getting lymphatic massages to flush out my lymphatic system, which really controls a lot of the fluids in your body too, right? And is there ways to do that with acupuncture or Chinese medicine? And I understand
Yes,
too that our livers just naturally will flush too in the springtime also. And there's things that we want to
absolutely.
do to stimulate that.
Sure. So the liver in Chinese medicine, the liver houses blood, and so it's in charge of the the internal environment and the way the blood warms the body during the winter. It's more viscous. It's thicker. It keeps you warm in the wintertime. Then when you have this spring change, it's cold for 3 days, and it's hot for 3 days, and it's cold for and you find yourself really struggling to
It's a yo-yo,
yes,
which is what we're
really
experiencing
struggling.
right now.
Yes. And anytime you see a bud on the branches outside, when you see a little weed or blooms coming onto the your yard outside in your neighborhood, you're going to want to make sure that you are it's a fantastic time in religious history. They have these fasts,
Mm-hmm.
these detoxifications. We have this holiday eating, kind of this a lot more consuming. It's hibernation season in the colder times. Now we're dipping into warmer temperatures. Our body will start having things like yeast infections, rashes, um, any type of it's kind of like a seasonal die-off where you're inundated with the abundance, and then you kind of come into this spring season needing to detox a little bit. So hoping that you're staying away from the sweets a little bit more, because that is detrimental. Mood also is something that is very important to that will indicate what organ system needs a little bit more tender care. The liver will express an anger when it's in disharmony. So a lot of times during this time of year, we see people road raging and losing patience in the home and things like that. Those are indications that we need to lymphatic drainage, detoxification, fasting, things like that. And it's not comfortable many times when we go through these treatments or these things like a fast. Then it won't be very comfortable at first, because
Mm-hmm.
you're getting rid of the toxins, and those are called it's called like a Hertz reaction or a die-off, and that will be uncomfortable for a good hearty week and a half to 2 weeks. Once you get past that, then your cravings will subside, your rashes will subside. Some people even get coughs, the seasonal
Congestion.
allergies, congestion, all of that. As we work our way through patiently and kind of just hunker down and try to be a little bit more purposeful in our eating, it will be very much worth our time and our health benefits.
Right. And isn't anger related to our liver? Is that an emotion that's attached to the
Yes,
liver? So
absolutely.
that is like when you're experiencing lots of anger, you're like, ooh, maybe I should focus on my liver and detox it.
Yes.
And I know
Yes.
there's really key acupuncture points for the liver detoxification also.
Yes.
Do you find yourself doing a
Absolutely.
lot of that during this season?
I do. And it's so very interesting too. So the liver is key in this expression of anger, and I do a point prescription specifically for the kind of that rage, that irritation, the anger. Sometimes people will experience depression, this this stagnation, and that helps to free the liver. In harmony, the liver's energy in Chinese medicine will flow like the sun. So it radiates in all directions in the body. When there is stress, it will begin to bottle up. It's almost as if you're kind of shaking up a soda bottle, and it will explode if you take the lid off. That is what the liver is responding in when it's in disharmony.
Mm-hmm.
So as we are kind to our body and to our liver, it will flow energetically like the sun. Everything will be radiating smoothly. There's no overreactions. over responses. Many times people will have diarrhea during this time because their liver is overacting on the stomach when it's having this response. And that's why a lot of times die-off will respond in the body as a diarrhea or something like that. It's the liver is overreacting on the stomach, which will cause that kind of a detox. And it doesn't last long, but it is worth the discomfort as you're trying
So
to.
it's okay.
Yes.
So basically what
okay.
you're saying is don't suppress the symptoms you're having right now, because sometimes our body has symptoms and we want to take medications to suppress them, but we really need to be letting our body express these things.
Yes.
During this time.
There is absolutely. And there is a time where if it's pathology, then you need to get help. Definitely acupuncture is super supportive for any type of diarrhea that's going longer than it should. That is when many times acupuncture is very, very effective. I find my wisest patients will come in at least quarterly for acupuncture. So every 3 months, everybody should be getting acupuncture just to help with seasonal transitions.
Mm-hmm.
The most recent one besides this spring transition was the Lunar New Year. So we have the new moon, it's low tide, it's the coldest time of the year. And so that is very important to consider what your body might be feeling and going through during that winter time, what you can do to support that internal fire to help to strengthen the body and keep your circulation going. Now we forward 3 months later, and here we have April time, which is another wonderful time to support the body through this seasonal transition where we're going from hot to cold and this, like you mentioned before, this yo-yo of seasonal change, which can really affect the internal environment.
Mm-hmm. So how do we know that we are going into like a pathology, as you said, and that we need to go in to see a doctor versus just letting our body run its course?
So my favorite quote is on the back of my card. It's a Chinese proverb. It says, 7 parts nurture, 3 parts treatment. So after you've done your fasting, you've done your you're making sure you're sleeping okay and everything is going well with your bowels. If anything of those are off, where you have a low appetite or you're having diarrhea too much or constipation, those are all considerations, or you're having insomnia, you're not sleeping properly. Those are considerations where you would say to yourself, okay, you know what, I think something is not quite right here. I've been going through my little health kind of help time, and I'm having diarrhea for 3 weeks now. Let me go get some help. And so that is something that I have many patients that come in, and I'm thinking of a handful so far that they had chronic diarrhea. They would go have a bowel movement 10 times a day, and after a couple of acupuncture treatments, it was ceased. And it's so important to recognize something like that, because those fluids are needed within the body. We can become dehydrated. We must have those fluids. If we don't have a balance of internal fluids, where we're pathologically draining out all of our fluids through a diarrhea type response, then we will, we could get headaches. Our insomnia can become worse. Many other symptoms, but those indications are time for you to have a little bit of support. Our bodies will respond genetically as we are coming in and out of seasons and stressful circumstances. And in acupuncture, we don't change genes, but what we do change is the way the body responds under stressful circumstances. Our genetic expression, we can support the body in that balance, and it is extremely helpful to have that acupuncture as in your back pocket. This is thousands of years old, and in Chinese history, they have records 2,000 to 3,000 years ago. But in truth, this absolutely blows my mind. There is a caveman, I think his name was Ötzi. They found him in the Austrian Alps, and they dated his body. Science has dated his body up to 5,000 years old. the thing that is absolutely fascinating about this caveman is he had tattoos on his body in the same location that Chinese medicine considers for osteoarthritis and GERD. And so these tattoos on this caveman's body were placed there either by himself or his community, maybe a healthcare provider in his community. And so he would press and do acupressure on these places, on these tattoos, to help strengthen his body and his health, which, if that's 5,000 years old, then what the heck are we doing not listening to these things today?
Seriously, it's like we've gone backwards. And I would like to just blame the American Medical Association for that. I'm serious.
Me too, Heather.
It's closed us all off to our natural circadian rhythm and to like being in tune with our bodies. It's created this like suppression of all sorts that has got us completely out of balance. And we've forgotten that Mother Earth and nature, like you said, plays a large role in the way that our bodies function and that we move through things seasonally as well. So yeah, I'm slightly angry and resentful towards the AMA.
You know, I am too. However, there are so many wonderful practitioners out there in the Western medical field that I just actually had a patient that came in yesterday. She is a DO and she works as a remote provider. I can't remember what it's called when you call in and your insurance allows you to have a remote interview with your healthcare provider. Anyway, she is very, very supportive of alternative methods like this. Like, she would love to refer her patients to have these treatments, have acupuncture and alternative health. And unfortunately, our insurance companies don't recognize this as a supportive medicine. So I think it was in the 1940s, don't quote me on that date, but there's a Flexner report where the AMA came out and they standardized medicine. And unfortunately, acupuncture, chiropractic, homeopathy were all labeled as quackery. And it's an unfortunate, that was an unfortunate label. It was detrimental to the medicine. And now we've had to, because of that standardization, we have gone through, and I know you have, I have gone through so many difficulties in my own personal health. But fortunately, I'm not a silly woman. I am wise, I am strong, I am creative, and I am capable to find solutions that will best help myself and so that I can raise my children and support my husband too. And I have loved this opportunity. And there are many, many Western doctors out there that are searching and seeking. So I would love to see a marriage of both medicines that can work together to really bring a beautiful medical environment.
Supportive.
And I think Las Vegas is the perfect place to do that. We are a little edgy,
Yeah.
Why not, build a hospital that supports both Western and alternative and Eastern medicines.
Yeah.
I would love that.
That would be amazing.
Greatest fantasy.
Well, Dr. Pfau always says that he treats holistically first. That's always the first resort. And then last resort is allopathic medicine. It's traditional medicine as we know it, because that's when then you resort to surgery and medications, because that is the absolute last resort you have to go to. But first, you need to be naturally stimulating your immune system. You need to be stimulating all of the things that your body knows what to do to get it into balance so it starts to function better and healthily. So tell us more about what would be beneficial with Chinese medicine during this season. So we know about acupuncture. Is there like a herbal type of stuff that you're doing as well? Because I know Chinese medicine also practices in herbalism.
Sure. Yes, absolutely. I find we mentioned the diarrhea and that kind of the detox, that die-off. There is a fantastic basic herbal formula that helps with nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, that kind of thing with this seasonal transition. The interesting thing is one of the basic herbal ingredients is patchouli.
Mm-hmm.
And that is very helpful as we are kind of dipping into a hotter temperature, where our bodies can have this nauseous response, potentially diarrheal. That there's an herbal, it's Huoshang Zhenqichang. I know it's a tongue twister, but that is a very basic herb that everyone should have on their shelf as a go-to if they're having some diarrhea or some nausea and vomiting as they're coming into a seasonal transition. I can't tell you the number of patients that I've had recently. Even my own, 12-year-old son has had so much trouble with. He's in a stressful state, prepubescent struggle, and
Mm-hmm.
he has struggled this season. And I have had many, many other neighbors and friends and patients who've had a lot of nausea and vomiting this seasonal transition. So that one's a
Interesting.
great one to have on your shelf to help to settle the tummy, to help to rein in the fluids that are essential. We don't want to harm the humors in the body.
Right. So, obviously, we're going to have viewers who are going to have a lot more questions and need some guidance, like where do you find this herbal and how do you spell it? And so, what would be the best way to reach you?
Obviously, I'm at Renaissance Health Center, which is a great way to reach me. My husband does a podcast that I am on there weekly. Yes, Cats in the Cradle podcast. We're building a website there, getting our wheels turning with that, but in the process of building a website, but that will have access to my herbal pharmacy and any needed support there. Anyone can contact through that as well.
And what is the premise of the podcast?
It's my husband and son, my 14-year-old son and my husband, they sit there. It's kind of almost a family journal, a log. So they are talking about funny things, remembrances, family history stuff. They talk about a lot of different pop culture things, also what's going on in the world today, almost not politics, but political environment. Just it's a whole rounded. They even review movies sometimes, and so it's kind of funny. It's lighthearted. It's clean. It's refreshing. It makes you laugh and enjoys it. And then I'll pop in because the goal for the podcast is to support the family. We really want to help others to connect with their loved ones. And the reason why I pop in is because this is the whole reason why I came into this medicine, is so that I can love and support and strengthen and nurture my children and my husband the way I knew I would be able to or should be able to. So it's celebrating the relationships that we have with one another in their podcasting exchange. It's fun, lighthearted, and then I pop in for little health tips, because if we're not enjoying ourselves, then if there's some pathology that we're experiencing, we really can't have the full experience and exchange with our close and beloved family members.
Right. Or enjoy our life to the fullest, because we should be living as joyful beings every day.
Absolutely.
It's so easy to get heavy and bogged down with things like that, but to just be reminded that we can achieve balance through our body, right? Through
Absolutely.
Chinese medicine particularly. And I have really great experiences with it, and I've got a definite needle phobia. But I have done acupuncture probably over 300 times more over. It's hard to even count at this point, because it is absolutely valuable and so vital for your health. Because the very first symptom I always notice, and which I tell everyone when you go do acupuncture, is that I sleep better. Like I just go right into my natural circadian rhythm, and it's amazing. Like you don't need an alarm. You just fall asleep at this natural time, and you just wake up and you're just like, wow. Yeah. I feel great.
There's two things I wanted to mention. Number one, we have laser. So if you are needle phobic and you absolutely cannot tolerate the acupuncture needles, then we have a laser, which is effective. Number two, I had a patient that came back into town from traveling abroad. She went to Iceland, and she could not fall back into her circadian rhythm. I gave her one acupuncture treatment, and she's a patient that comes in normally, but I gave her one acupuncture treatment after her trip. And she emailed me, she's like, my Aura Ring reported that I had a 91% on my sleep last night. Thank you for your treatment. I was like,
yay.
Jackpot.
Okay, so everyone needs to come see you for jet lag too.
Yes.
I forget
Traveling,
about that.
Recovery. Yes.
Jet lag sucks. Oh, well, thank you so much, Renee, for joining us today. This was really such a fascinating topic, and you definitely are a wealth of information. And if you guys have any questions, want to reach out, Renee is there for you. You can call us at 702-258-7860. I'm actually impressed with myself that I have that memorized. Or you can visit the podcast too. Renee's available. Thanks again.
Thanks, Heather.
This has been the Healing the Whole Body podcast from the Renaissance Health Center in Las Vegas. Visit us at iwholehealth.com. That's the letter I, wholehealth.com. Here's to a vibrant, healthy, productive life.
This has been a production from a podcast studio.